Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. Yo, what is happening? Thank you so much for tuning in to Hyphenate with me, Randy Randall. It is a pleasure to come to you on this beautiful Thursday, February 15th. How was everybody's Valentine's Day out there? Hope it was a good one. I am right now flying through the air on my way to New Zealand. I left yesterday. I'm recording this ahead of time, but I'm speaking as if, in real time. On Thursday the 15th, I will be somewhere over the seas en route to Wellington, New Zealand, where I'm going to be performing this week and next week as part of a Low Hum festival. Really excited. Going over there for some solo shows. It's hard to be away from the family for 2 weeks, but it's a long flight. I'm sure I will tell you more and give you updates, maybe even try to get some interviews or do some live reporting from the festival and from New Zealand. But today is a very special day. Today is Mr. Brian Chipendale Day on the Hyphenate pod. Brian Chipendale is the drummer and creative half of the duo that is Lightning Bolt. He is also an incredible painter, printmaker, collagist. He has an incredible, very unique visual style that you've probably seen on the Lightning Bolt's album covers. But if you follow him or look him up, you can see all of his incredible illustration, painting, artwork, printing. Super talented, super colorful, really raw, fun, and kind of big and messy. Sort of like the band, Lightning Bolt. I first saw Lightning Bolt, I don't know when it was. I missed their Smell show, but I had heard from band members and from other people how incredible it was there. Maybe I saw their second time they played the Smell. I definitely saw them at the Echo some point, but then our band before No Age, we were lucky enough to get to open a few shows for Lightning Bolt, which is kind of a thankless duty because they go on right after the band before them and sort of explode the room, and by the time we were opening up for them, everybody sort of knew where to stand so they could be as close to them, and it was just like a huge explosion. As soon as they started playing, everyone just kind of lost their minds, and they would normally play on the floor. And I think I talked to Chipendale a little bit about this. And yeah, just a huge influence, I think, on, any kind of DIY punk noise music that was made from the early 2000s outward. They just, this really sort of established a language and a form of sound and sort of fury. It was just an incredible sort of force to reckon with. I feel like, a lot of bands were inspired. I know Dean and I certainly were inspired by what Brian Gibson and Brian Chipendale did in Lightning Bolt. And so it was a great pleasure to have some time to catch up with Chipendale, calling in from Providence, Rhode Island. I hope everybody's enjoying this 5 Thursdays of February theme month, Providence, Rhode Island. This is the third week of it. We have 2 more. I have Jeff Rosenberg from Pink and Brown, Young People, and Lavender Diamond. There's a few other bands in there too. And as well as Hisham Barucha from Black Dice and Kill Altars and Soft Circle, also coming up in the next couple weeks. But yeah, started things off with Bjorn Copeland and then Joel Kayak. Really fun. I'm really excited that this came together. I hope you're enjoying it. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me at hyphenatehalftime@gmail.com. Send in any notes or find me on Instagram at Randy S. Randall. And let me know what you're thinking of the pod, what you're thinking of this theme month. How is it going? Is this all stuff everybody already knew? Was Providence, Rhode Island the most well-documented scene on the planet Earth? Or is this uncovering something new? Hopefully there is more coverage to come. I don't think this is in any way telling the entire story of that time, but it's a quick sort of oral history check-in, short form recollection of a time and place. And I think it'd be an incredible thing for someone to have a series of books about, photos, films, documentaries. I think there's so much material out there that it's rife for rediscovery and representation somewhere out there. But enjoy this interview with Mr. Brian Chipendale. I'll talk to you soon. Hello, Mr. Brian Chipendale. How are you?
Hello, Randy Randall.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. It's been a minute since we last saw each other. How are things?
It has been a minute. I feel it's funny because I remember I looked at my you sent me a message maybe through Instagram or something for
Probably.
this.
Yep.
And then I looked above and I was like, oh shoot, there's that last message you sent that I missed. I think like at some fest or something in LA, or I forget where we were somewhere.
Right.
I mean, it was a couple of years ago.
That's
we were
right.
somewhere. And I
was going to try to come see you guys for float in or something or sound check.
Something.
That sounds right. Man. Well, it's been a while. I think, I first remember we played with your other band Wives, opened up for you in New Orleans at a warehouse.
Right.
That was the first time I think we met in person. I'd seen Lightning Bolt at the Smell and at the Echo, and had seen, I'd been in the audience and been a witness. But I think the first time we actually met, as far as I recall, was that tour we did with USA's a Monster.
Okay. Yeah. Which I wonder which show. It's funny. There's a couple New Orleans shows were just like so insanely hot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think. Right. I mean, I guess maybe that's all of them.
Yeah, right. But we stayed there. We actually slept on the floor of the warehouse that night. Like afterwards, after the show, we went and walked and got French fries or something, and then we all came back and just kind of just crashed in sleeping bags, or not even sleeping bags, just in our clothes. I want to say it was something like Bank Street Warehouse or something like that. It was. There was that cool. The kid that set up all the shows was really cool. It was kind of a crust punk kid that was sweet up there. I know this could be a million towns.
I think I know the one. There's this one specific one that I'm always like, were you at that show? We played in this storefront. I think it was, what is that place called? Something Carnival or I don't know. It was like a double storefront. You went in you went in the right side, and then we played on the left side in front of another door. But that door was shut, had like the gate down. And I played with my back to that door and to the audience. And it was so insanely hot. And it every couple songs I could get the door barely open
just to breathe.
And I could shove myself between the gate and the door, sort of. And so I would just be and just trying to suck in some air and then be like, okay, here we go.
Oh my God.
Squeeze.
Insane.
But
insane.
New Orleans.
Yeah. Always hot, always muggy, always fun though. Definitely.
Yeah. Always fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we did Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, I mean, especially those old, there was a period. It's funny, now we go down to New Orleans and last time it was pretty freaking hot. We were just down there in the spring sometime last year. But we did a couple shows where we were in some nice air-conditioned place, and it was
it's not the same.
They got really good air conditioning, but it's not the same. You're
awesome.
This isn't how it's supposed to be. Despite, though, it's easier to play and you can survive it better. But
yeah. Oh my God. So I I'm stoked. We get to chat. I think what I'm doing, I'm interviewing a few people from Providence. I want to talk in general about you and your art and the band and everything, but also just kind of. I was thinking of making this like a Providence month. I've spoken to a few people. I spoke to Mr. Bjorn Copeland,
amazing,
a few weeks back, and then also to Joel Kayak.
Cool.
Landed, and Joel. Yeah. So he's out here in LA. I'm kind of those are my two kind of local people here. But
But yeah, I thought of reaching out to you as well. If I was going to talk about Providence and Rhode Island, I thought you would definitely be on the list.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Still here. It's snowing. It's like, yeah, we got a big snow.
That's amazing. But I don't really know where your biography. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? What before Providence? Where were you?
I was born outside of New York in Newburgh, New York, which is a kind of like a grungy little town upstate from New York. And then, but I mostly grew up outside of Philadelphia. Like we moved around a little bit when I was a kid. We were like in St. Louis for a minute, and then we went to Philadelphia. My dad was getting kind of transferred around.
What did your dad do? What was he doing?
You know, what did my dad do? he worked for Smith, Klein and Beckman, and you know he was something to do. I've always called him like the head janitor or something. He was like, you know, he was not in the science department. He was just like maintenance, kind of like facility shit.
Okay.
What is Sorry, Dad, if I'm wrong. Maybe you're a chemist. I don't.
What is that company? I don't even know. Smith, Klein and Beckman. I've never heard of that.
Smith, Klein and Beckman. Now they've moved on. They're like a big pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
They were a huge drug company, and I think they've been like absorbed into various things, and now they're probably called like Smith, Klein, and like Beck. Like it's just like I remember them adding weird names in, and I only recognized it because my dad. I was like, "That's where my dad used to work." I'm sure they're not the most sparkling of companies. Like
none of them are. They're all bad.
They're all bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we ended up in Philadelphia. I mean, by the time I was like, I think 5 or 6, we landed outside of Philadelphia, so the suburbs.
Cool.
And then that's where I was, and then I was there, and then I went up to Rhode Island, to Providence for Rhode Island School of Design for art school. And then now I've been here.
Amazing. And yeah, and so the idea of the show, it's called Hyphenate, and you obviously fit that bill perfectly. But for people who aren't familiar with you, you're a visual artist as well as a performing artist. I think is probably where we can draw a line on a very messy map, if we had to say two different fields of creativity.
Yeah,
there's a visual field and then also a performing field.
I hustle in two worlds.
Don't we all? Right? If not more than two. Sometimes.
More than two. Yeah. Do you have a kid now?
2.
Are you in that world? You have 2.
I have a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Oh wow!
Yes,
you're right in the middle there. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I have a 7-year-old. So
7-year-old. Oh yeah, it's fun, right? Yeah,
and somehow he's at school today, even though he should. It's like. It's always the way. You don't have this snow problem that we have, or not problem, snow awesomeness that we have. But like, you'll get like a quarter of an inch and it'll get canceled. Oh and then God. You get like 4 or 5 inches and they're there. And so now he's there and we have to like get him out of there. Yeah.
I saw something, and it's probably not true like everything online, but it's that snow days were going to get canceled and they were just going to do at home learning on the computers. Have they talked about that or no?
Not yet. God, not the school that I'm at. But yeah, okay. I think I saw something about that. That would be terrible.
I know, right? Snow days have to be
man, you got to
tradition. I was always jealous. We never had snow days.
They're so fun.
Growing up in Southern California, like I did, we would have smog days where the smog rating would be very bad, and so no running outside. I know, right? It's the bleak
not
apocalypse.
The same.
Yeah, but we'd stay inside, but there was no we had to walk during PE. You could walk in the smog, but they just didn't want you doing any heavy aerobic exercises. In case any kind of lung problems were to develop.
Man, that's so rough.
Yeah,
snow days are awesome with kids. I mean, it's like the snow is just the solution. It just presents like it's the whole day. He'll mess around on his screen for a little while, and then we're just sledding. Building snow people or whatever, like shoveling stuff, like moving snow around. I mean, it's just like lighting a fire in the yard or whatever. You're just kind of, it's all just like the activity is set. And today would have been one of those days, but they're at school. He's at school, and then I live just across a park from my studio.
Amazing.
And my van sucks in the snow. So I just like trudged through the snow over here. It's like a 30-minute walk, but basically through a park, which is awesome.
But from where you live into where the studio is, you're no longer living in the studio.
I no longer live in the studio. Okay. Yeah.
I think we stayed with you a few times. It crashed out. Yeah. We were watching The Song Remains the Same in some large studio space for breakfast. like I woke up earlier than everybody else, and I was like, "What's on? What do you got on TV? Or what do you have?" We had a little TV set up there, and it was with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't live here anymore. I can't get away from, I have a big space, compared to, not as big as my old space was almost like a whole city block or something of ruined mill.
Yeah.
But now I'm in it's still I'm in it. I can't really swivel you around to see it, but it's like 1,500 square feet and then a basement and then like a lofted zone.
Wild.
And I always set them up kind of like a house. Like I can cook here. I can even crash here if I really, if it's like a crazy late night and I'm just like zonked, or, we take occasional parenting break nights from each other. And so
it's necessary.
It's amazing. With one, it's easier than maybe with two. It's like, I don't know.
It's all fun. Yeah, no, the big one helps with the little one. We've noticed. That's the difference. Great. Yeah, the jump from 0 kids to 1 kid is huge. Then I think as you add on more to them, it's just like, okay, the jump is not as dramatic.
It's not as crazy. Yeah. You've already lost your mind, and now it's a matter of just like continuing forward. But I always set up my studio sort of like a house. It always feels very cozy and home-like, and
incredible. Okay, so getting back, so from Philadelphia then to Rhode Island School of Design. This is in the late 90s, mid 90s.
This would be in the early 90s. I came in 91 to Rhode Island School of Design, and majored in printmaking at the school, and for like landmarks, my original roommate was this guy, Matt Brinkman, who was my roommate for years. Like we were roommates from 91, with a few gaps, like through 2000, I don't know what, 5 or 6 or 7 or so. It was like a long run, like through this place, Fort Thunder. And then we had another place called the Hilarious Attic, which maybe is where you guys stayed. I'm not sure, but we just had a run. He's like an amazing visual artist and an amazing musical. He makes music, and he's sort of like this crazy curator of sound. But we were in a band called Mind Flayer, me and him together.
Mm-hmm. Right. But from arriving to Providence, to Rhode Island, like what was there a transformation? Was there kind of an awakening? Was there how did you feel that like being at that school and around, was there something about the people, the social scene? I mean, Joel Kayak talks a little bit about kind of the townies versus the sort of the arties, and sort of that like is the perfect storm of kind of like there was an audience sort of, and there was no shortage of ideas. I mean, how did you find, did that find you? Yeah.
Joel specifically, I think he really got psyched. Like he got in with the townies. It's interesting because he like landed kind of cross my bands. I was kind of in Rhode Island School Design bands, RISD bands.
Mm-hmm.
But Joel kind of morphed. He was definitely psyched to like get out there and like, just sort of meet people who were not in the school. And we were too, but Joel's very good at meeting people. So,
oh my God.
Talks his way right in through any door.
He can do
Good old Joel.
What did the experience do for you, kind of coming from the suburbs?
So honestly,
there, like
the big, of course, the huge thing was just moving to a new town. That was just like huge. Moving to a new town, being thrown in with a bunch of like kids. It was crazy. Like college is insane, and college kind of sucks. And I was lucky enough that like it's like basically like a thrifty grandmother librarian managed to have the money to like pay the bulk of this tuition. And so like I could go to school. So that was the main experience, just leaving and switching and moving and going somewhere new. But honestly, Matt Brinkman came, he grew up in Kerrville, Texas, but he did a stint in Michigan at this school called Interlochen, which is like a high school for like, I don't know, just art high school. And his roommate was this Japanese guy, and he was like a noise Japanese music guy. And so when Brinkman finished that school, like that guy gave him a huge pile of these like cassettes, just recorded, mostly probably LPs transferred on the cassette. So Brinkman showed up at RISD with just like a mountain of Japanese music, and it blew our mind. Like he had Boredoms and Ruins and Hannah Trash, which is like I from the Boredoms Noise thing, and just like just all this other stuff, Merzbow and Masana, which is some really hardcore noise stuff. And then that combined with just a few blocks away, there was the sort of like, I call it the South Street zone because that's the street in Philadelphia. Like,
Mhm.
just the sort of restaurant weirdo,
Main
not
Street
that
sort
weird,
of.
but yeah, Main Street, City Street. And there was this record store called Fast Forward, and they were getting in just tons of crazy records. So between like Brinkman and his tape wall, and then Fast Forward getting like, that's like where I heard of like Jesus Lizard and this band Crash Worship, which is this amazing. Maybe do you know about Crash Worship?
Mhm.
This
Yeah.
like sick, crazy drum band. Just like maybe Crash Worship records alone might have changed the trajectory of my life. Just like wait, they're in a junkyard and they're all naked and they're just fucking banging on shit, and like it blew my mind because in high school, me and my friends were into metal, and we got like Metal Edge magazine, and you would go through and you'd buy a cassette from every band there. Like you would just, and like sometimes weird shit. I think maybe Jesus Litter might have snuck in there. Like, some sort of off the side shit snuck in there. And so
Yeah.
you kind of started to branch out. Like we had Ministry, but
Helmet, maybe.
Helmet.
Of
Well,
their-
I think maybe Helmet came in through Brinkman
Oh, wow. Okay.
because also it was like the only helmet on was helmet, like Strap It On was out, and then in like Meantime, which was their kind of big breakthrough one, came out. I remember getting the 7-inch for prior to Meantime, which was like had one of the songs on Meantime but a different version. It was so fucking good. I can't remember the song. Dun, 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 dun,
Oh,
ride
yes.
it on.
Yeah. Oh,
Dun, dun,
oh my God.
son. It's
I'm
just
gonna
like
find.
it's
Yes.
the only one that's just like ba, 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 ba,
Yep.
ba. It was like it didn't have like the sort of hip hop beat. It had just like a rock
Didn't have a
beat,
stutter.
and it was it's so good. And then the 7-inch version was kind of better. And I remember like, yeah, I just like Unsane's
Unsung.
first Unsung,
Unsung. Yes. Right. That's
great song. And then Unsane, I remember that record, the first Unsane record coming out, and then there were a couple 7-inches that I got, but like that I'd missed that I went back and got, but like that like blew my mind. It was just this early 90s landing in this like musical pit. Because me and my friends have always been into music. We've been like looking for stuff. But like between Brinkman and Fast Forward Records, like I just got caught in this swirling music, like cacophony of chaos. And I don't know that,
And it had you
know,
playing drums already at that point before.
I'd already been playing drums. That would have been 91. I started playing in like 88.
Okay.
And the story's funny because it was just like me and my best friend, his dad got remarried, and then his new wife had a son the same age, and the son had a best friend, and they were like kind of like like more punk, crazier kids, kind of from the city, and we were like suburb kids, and so suddenly 4 kids all the same age were just like thrust together.
Okay.
And one of them played bass, and he knew every Metallica song, Matt, and then Nick liked the Rolling Stones, and he liked Husker Du.
This is like
and the
kind of
Damned.
fucked up Partridge Family kind of thing. Like, okay, you
Yeah.
got a band.
Yeah. And then me and David, my best friend, we were just like into Metallica and I don't know what, just more straight like Megadeth, not Slayer somewhat, but like metal stuff. And we didn't do shit. We didn't know how to do anything, but they were like, let's start a band. And so we drew straws, me and David, to see who was gonna, because we both wanted to sing. And then I lost the straw drawing, and it was like, well, I guess you're playing drums. And so then, I mean, and I've talked about it before. It's just like the best thing I ever lost.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you played before then. You sat down based on that, and
I sat down. It was like 88. I lost the thing, and we were just like, well, it's time to practice. We had like a pair of drumsticks and like a boot. And so the first, like, we have a couple tapes where I'm just like playing on a boot. And then we kind of pulled this weird like heist where we managed to get this electronic drum set. There was like this kid had an electronic drum set, and he had it stashed at this other kid's house, but everybody like they hate each other now or something. I don't know, but we went to one and we're like, we're getting it for this other kid. And then we told him like, anyway, we ended up with it.
Yeah.
By sort of lying our way to get it. And we got this electronic drum set. So then there's like a couple more tapes, but we didn't know how to program it. So it's just like, I just had these like laser sounds for a little while. And then finally I saved up like $250 or something, and then like got a drum set.
That's
So
huge. That's still a huge amount at that age. $250 is.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
I had a job, and I like worked at the Wawa, which is like this a little like I was in the gas booth, so I would just sit in this gas booth and like
huffing fumes,
huffing fumes and drawing behind like 2 levels of bulletproof glass.
That brings up the other side of the stuff too. So drawing, was that something from childhood and that has evolved, or how do you kind of track that? Yeah. The art stuff.
That was from childhood. I drew from like a really early age, like everybody. It's funny, like now having kids, just like everybody draws. They're all freaking good. They're all amazing. And I kind of always knew it's just like, it's the ones that keep going are the ones that keep going. Like if you just keep drawing, you'll be fine or something. Or I mean, you can kind of keep anything. It up. Obviously.
Yeah. Same with the kids that play, everyone plays soccer, but if you really took it serious, you could go to college or you could go
or something.
Football, basketball, that's sort of how it all starts.
Right. So I always drew, and I just continued to draw, and I always loved it. Like we drew comics, like me and David, the same guy I was in a band with, like we had comics, and like I remember like 6th and 7th and 8th grade, we were drawing comics. And then I also, funny enough, it's like I also really liked drums as a kid. Like I would set up little pots and pans in my room and just play along to like the radio. And so it was always there. And then it just came, it landed in front of me. I didn't seek it out. I actually played saxophone. I played saxophone in the band. So I was like a sax player. So I had a musical thing. Like you kind of had to. I think you had to pick an instrument back then or something.
My oldest son just did trombone for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
A year and a half. He let it go. Yeah. But it's fun though, just to have it. Yeah. Just have an instrument at that age, just to see their face. Like, I'm making it sound. I'm doing it.
Yeah. Some of those instruments they're tough. Trombone's a little tougher than some other ones. It seems like.
Well, I think he never really got the musicality of it, but it was more the volume of it, which, as we all know, is the more important thing in the performance. He could he would hold it like a bazooka and just kind of like just launch the notes out.
It's kind of a sound. It's like a sound weapon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's how he was attracted to it.
Yeah.
Which made sense to me. I was like, that's a valid reason. That's a valid reason to hold an instrument. As for weapons, yes, go for it.
Totally. Yeah. Put some Nerf darts in that thing.
Oh, pew, pew, pew.
Sick.
So you were set, and then your mind's exploding and melting all over the place, or on the early days of RISD. And then at what point and then you and Brinkman say your roommates, we should start Mind Flare, right?
We do that a little later. So it was like 91 we went to school. 93 Brian Gibson, the other half of Lightning Bolt, shows up at Rhode Island School of Design. He's like 2 years younger, and there was this one room at school where people could play. It's called the Student Center, and you'd have to like lug your shit over there. Nobody had a car. You'd literally just like carry it from the dorms. There was like a closet you could store stuff in, but stuff would get stolen. Like I stored it there like once, and my snare drum got stolen out of there, which I figured out where it was, and I fucking climbed up the outside of the dorms and broke into some kid's room and stole it back. But I didn't, it was like a hassle no matter what, however you did it. So it's funny, like I played as much as I could back then, but it wasn't until it was like maybe 95, me and Brinkman got this warehouse that became known as Fort Thunder, or quickly we named it Fort Thunder. He named it Fort Thunder because it was the place where like Lightning Bolt lived. So Lightning Bolt had started playing at the Student Center, and then we moved to Fort Thunder. And then it was just I could play every day. And that's like really where it took off. So I was like 22. So like around age 22 is where like I've been playing, and it always had come very natural to me. Like I had this like kind of intense, like I sat down, like even on the first day, I just sat down and it was like, like I could just play. And then, but when the chops, I think really escalated was like then, but it was, I mean, I just started playing every day. Amazing. But it was weird. Somehow I was good, even though I wasn't playing that much. I really just took to it.
You had the confidence of just sitting behind a thing and going, well, if you play these in a row and it works.
Yeah. I don't know what I had. It's the same kind of weird energy, like naive energy. I had nothing. I just sat down. I don't know. It's weird. It's kind of the same as today. I just like sit down and I play it. And that was what happened on day 1. And that's what's happening on day 5,000 trillion zillion or whatever.
No matter how long you play, it still sort of sounds like day one. Is what you're
In a
saying.
way, yeah. It's like I just sat down and I took to it, and I sit down and I take to it, now, and it something just clicked really early, and
Amazing.
I found my thing. It's like I really did. It's just like, oh my God. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. There's like such a huge world, but this like little bongo setup or whatever, it's just like my thing.
It's like a hand to a glove. It just fits.
Yeah, it just fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
So then, did you graduate from RISD?
I did not graduate from RISD. I went for 2 years. I took a year off. I went back for 2 years, but I just didn't manage to get enough credits. I wasn't very good. I was like very much a known entity. Like, we were very present and we were doing stuff all the time, but we weren't exactly doing like stuff for the school. Like me and Brinkman both sort of just fizzled out. And then we got Four Thunder, like basically at the end. I think we overlapped 1 year. So my senior year, we got Four Thunder, and then I just kind of pittered out. I finished the year. I didn't graduate, but we were like, we've started this new school. We're done with we don't need it anymore.
Rest of life is ahead of you. Yeah, you didn't need
it. We didn't need it anymore. And also my parents were just like, I got a letter being like, you can come home and pay rent, or you can get a job and be there. It's like, we're not be like, your school's done. Like, you can try to get a job and pay for school. And I was like, I'm out.
That's amazing. And has anyone from RISD ever approached you about teaching or about
I've done crits. I've got stuff in their museum. I've done lots of crits. I've been like guest artist a bunch of times. So yeah. And then like my old advisor, she says she puts my name in like every year for like honorary degree or something.
Yeah, it seems like at this point, yeah, you should just
maybe someday
be on the alumni and stuff. It seems criminal to have you not,
Yeah, the biggest bummer is that I don't have an alumni card to get like the deals at the art store. That's honestly the only thing I'm bummed about, because I'd get like 20% off of silkscreen ink and stuff if I went.
Somebody's got to get you back, because just like you got broke into the place and got your snare back. Somehow you got to figure out some hustle, like somebody give me an alumni card. I need it.
I actually had one there was like a couple of years when it arrived. It just showed up and I was like, oh, amazing. So I had the discount, and then they changed to some crazy new system, and
computers.
I fell through the loophole.
Yeah.
It's pretty high security over there now.
Fix the glitch.
They fixed the glitch.
Oh man. So then from Fort Thunder, Lightning Bolt, and then tour record, where does it evolve from that?
Yeah. So 95, like we kicked in at the end of 94. Like we played our first show in December 94. We had kind of started and stopped and started again, me and Brian, like over the year before that. We played a show in 94. We got a singer, Hisham Barucha, in like early 95, but by like maybe 96, it was just the two of us again, or 97 or something. And we put out our first 7-inch, I think in 97 or 98, as a 2-piece. And it was a split 7-inch with Force Field, which was Matt Brinkman's like noise band. And then it was 97. So we put out a 7-inch, and we like jumped in the van and did a tour with a 7-inch that no one had heard. And we did a whole US tour in this van that was just wrecked. And we had like, I think we'd all borrowed we racked up a phone bill on Brinkman's parents' credit card or something, which I still think I owe them $500 for, or $250 or something. But, and we played maybe like 10 shows over 5 weeks around the whole country or something terrible.
Yeah.
But it was awesome.
Just having the 7-inches melting in the back of the van the whole time.
Pretty much. Yeah.
They're all warped. And
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
And the van made it back. I mean, when we got back, like the dashboard was dead, like nothing in the gears worked, but everything still ran. It ran. There was a hole in the floor. We would like pee through this hole in the floor. So we were driving.
Oh,
it was the good old days.
That's what they call the salad days, I think.
Yeah. It's so awesome. I mean,
I've peed out of windows at highway speed, and you realize it just blows back at you very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, back on that trip, like the van was a conversion van that had kind of been turned into there was like a bed up in the lofted part, And then there was like a couple chairs back there, but mostly it'd be like two people sitting in the front, and then the other two would just be like walking around. There was like a bench somewhere back there. It was, it was pretty sketchy.
Yeah.
Nobody cared, just driving around, walking, standing there, peeing. Pre-seatbelt care.
Yeah. Those are fun. And then how does it, and then your visual art or printmaking and is that kind of evolving along the same time? You're using your art to do the cover art or to make
it's all evolving at the same time.
Yeah.
So like when I started Fort Thunder in 95, and like I'd studied silk screening in school. I'd failed silk screen class in school, which is ridiculous, but I knew how to do it. And so we set up silk screening in Fort Thunder in the warehouse, and we were sort of trying to make a living. It was like making mini comics or like making posters for bands for shows or just like whatever. Obviously like it didn't work. I had to get some other jobs too. But it was so cheap. I mean, like our rent at some point was like $150 a month, and it's like you could really do very little real work and just sort of slide through. But it was almost, there were like 4 or 5 or 6 of us in the house who all did silk screening. So it just kind of like we were all just printing, and so everybody was drawing comics and printing, doing silk screening, and making some kind of like, I started making these bigger pieces like with like collaging silk screens together and stuff, and then the house itself was kind of like this huge canvas. Like we were decorating everything. And so we were like building like creatures and rooms out of paper mache, and everything that be considered like a crazy death trap now. Like we were doing it.
I came to Fort Thunder once for a New Year's Eve party. I think it's probably New Year's of 2001 going into 2002.
Okay, yeah, or maybe 2000 to 2001 or something. Probably like the last one.
Okay, yeah,
something like that.
That sounds right. Yeah,
it might have been 2001 to 2002. It ended like 2000 or 2001 or 2000. It ended around then somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, because I was dating a girl who was from Boston.
And,
and then we drove, but they had gone to school in RISD, or her friend had gone to school there, and so we're looking for something fun to, I was like, let's try, just kind of hop in a car, and it felt like I'd heard so much about it by that point. I was still in college, and it was like cool. I'd gotten a plane ticket in and out of Boston. I was like, I'm just gonna go visit these girls for the Christmas break and see what happens.
Yeah.
I just had a fake ID, and we got all around in Boston, and then driving up to Providence. It was super fun.
Amazing. Yeah. A lot of people were from, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you talking about the paper mache, just the decorations, everything was going on.
Yeah. It was just this huge warehouse, and, we would have parties, and we would like there'd be like 500 people in there on some of the really big shows, just like going wild, and it was awesome.
But I felt like there was like holes where people were living. Is that a room, or is it it's like in a hole, like a rat's nest kind of? It's an art installation / door to someone's living space.
Yeah, there was kind of the main hall,
Rock.
And there were a couple of rooms there, and then there was this whole like another third of it was on this other side, and there were just like holes to get into rooms, and secret hallways. I mean, it was everything you wanted.
It felt like Fraggle Rock in a warehouse, kind of
very Fraggle Rock.
Yeah,
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I loved it.
And then so printmaking is going on, and then the first record you link up with.
So Load Records put out the 7-inch. Ben McCosker through Load Records put out the 7-inch, and then we followed up in '98 with like a full length.
Okay.
Which we recorded in Fort Thunder, and it was a mix of stuff that Rick Pelletier, who's a drummer from Six Finger Satellite, brought over some gear and recorded some songs, and then we threw on some like 7-inch or 4-track cassette songs, and I think that was the whole thing. It was just puzzled together from a couple sources, and then we mixed it with Rick, and and this hand printed the covers. I think like 750 of them, and then like went back on tour with the Yellow record, and people were starting to we had started to get some notoriety around us, even from the first tour. Like people had come to that first tour, and a handful, but it had started to slowly kind of leak out that. And then I think it was, so that was 98 when the Yellow record came out, and then I think the Ride the Sky was the next record. I think that came out in 2000. And that was the one that kind of like everybody heard. It got out there. I think it, and I remember maybe it was like the 2002 tour. It was I remember this one tour was like the first time we made money. Like we didn't come back, like the first one we lost a ton of money, like in 97, and then like in 98 or 99 we like had lost less money, and like 2000 we like broke even, and then in like 2001 we like made money, and we were like, holy shit, like
yeah, unbelievable.
And then there was this period, I feel like for the next 10 years, like I was drawing comics, making prints, and touring and doing music. And we would go on tour for like a month, and I would just come back with like a big bag of cash, and I could live off of that for like 4 or 5 months. And so that was life. And then I would just draw comics and do shit that made a little to no money, and could just survive. And it was like this golden era because the everything was just like so cheap.
Mm-hmm.
There was, although now I'm remembering, there were some stressful times too. There was a moment when it was all real cheap, and then Fort Thunder fell apart in like 2002-ish. And then I remember moving into this place where the rent went from like 150 or 200 to like 500 a month, and I was just like, oh my god, like what the fuck am I supposed to do now?
Yeah.
But then somehow that got under control. But then and now it's just like ridiculous. I can't even, like, the correlation between rent and now it's just like you got to raise $4,000 a month to make you're just like, I'm still doing the same stupid shit. Like, how am I supposed to make $4,000 a month?
Yeah. Well, it's insane with that kind of, it's almost like there was a fishbowl sort of thing. I feel like that we went through something similar sort of through your 20s into early 30s, where it was like, as prices went up, somehow I made more. It just kind of worked out that, or the more I made, somehow the prices, everything started costing more. I was like, I don't like this, but it's like, I guess I'm kind of still in the middle. So I don't know how this is. I don't know if that's just economics.
I guess it all just works. Yeah. If they get paid a little. Yeah. That's economics.
But I want to talk just a little bit, like, playing on the floor. I mean, that was
right. That was our thing.
Simple, but I think it really destroyed an entire generation of music people, music fans, bands, everybody.
Yeah.
Just you guys setting up as the band before you was playing on stage or playing somewhere else. You were setting up some, in a corner, and then you would just explode the second the last band stopped. And I think it just, but I say that in the best way, like destroyed. I just mean melted people's minds. It's just like nobody had experienced this. Was this something that came naturally from a Fort Thunder sort of idea of like, we just play wherever you want to play? All space is valid. We're bringing our own PA. We don't need anything.
Right.
Or how did that evolve?
I mean, there was like an integral moment, and it's like an unknown band, or maybe some people know them, but this band called Flag Camp played in Providence. I don't even know where they were from. They had a sick drummer, and they set up on the stage. They showed up. We had their 7-inch or something, which was just like awesome. I mean, I know, and I took things from that drummer, like just pounding, like the Unsane drummer and the Flag Camp drummer, just like pounding that kick drum. But they set up on the stage, and then like the three of us rolled in who were going to be at that show. It was like me and Brinkman and somebody else. And I remember them just being like, this is stupid. And they took all their shit off the stage and they put it on the floor, and they played like right there. And we were right on, we were just right there together. And that was it. That was the moment. So I saw it. It happened to me through this other band. And it was amazing. And I was just like, holy shit. They're on the floor. Like, we're all in it together. All 6 of us, the 3 band members and the 3 people in the crowd. And that kind of came like in Fort Thunder. Yeah, we had a stage. We built this shitty ass stage for people if they wanted it. But it was like, like Carp played in the kitchen on the ground, and like everybody, that was like one of the first shows, so I remember very well. But everybody just played everywhere. We would just like, and we'd try to like knock it out. So you'd be like band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4. Like, let's just, like, we didn't really have much of a PA anyway. So we could kind of try to cobble maybe 2 things together. So it was really, I think, born out of that Flight Camp show, just being like, oh, they came to the crowd. Like, they didn't have the crowd come to them. And it just blew my mind. And I was like, that's the way to do it. And then reinforced maybe through this Fourth Thunder idea of just like, oh, like not even come to them, but like you can play anywhere in a room and just like whatever makes sense. And so that became, I mean, we were dogmatic about it. Like I would fight with people. Like we were not stepping on a stage, like, you know, anywhere else. And I would always just be like, look, you know, your room isn't set up right. Like this is the corner where this is where it's supposed to happen. You know, you think it's a stage, like put the people on the stage to look down. Like we would and it was awesome. And it was amazing. And we, you know, and we still do it some, like if it makes sense, but we don't do it as much anymore. And I kind of turned a weird corner with it. But for many, many years, it really defined the band. I think it was just another another step in like how we played music too. It was kind of like I was a certain kind of drummer. We got this place where I could play all the time, every day. Brian Gibson shows up with like way too much equipment, and I just like I kind of trained with this like hyper loud dude who doesn't really stop. And so I was just like, okay, I got to like escalate to that level. And then it was like play on the floor with no like subsidizing PA system. And it was kind of like, it just made me specifically just as a drummer, like hit hard, hit fast, and just like power through. Like it kind of, it helped define the music. Like it wasn't just like, oh, they play in the corner, blah, blah, blah. It was like, yeah, we play in the corner and we're going to play so hard without any shit that we're going to like, you're going to feel it. And it informed the music, which is cool.
Yeah.
And special.
I love that we're going to run out of time here. They're going to kick us off.
Man.
But
see it.
Yep. But this is okay. We got 10 minutes. But this is great though. I mean, cause I love the form of the function, you know, the function over form, or sort of the informing of, you know, the almost mechanical nature of it, where it's the creative expression was sort of born out of so many dynamics that just were existing sort of, you know, feeling, but you also had the influences of, you know, Japanese noise and these other kinds of things, but having your own space and sort of informed, you were almost taking that Fort Thunder performance attitude or performance ethos on tour with you. Like little corner of Fort Thunder, wherever you were, including the costumes, the sort of the colors, the everything that was
right. The costumes kind of came out of this costume tradition in Fort Thunder.
Yeah.
And then Lightning Bolt's hilarious because I'm the only one that kept it up. Like Gibson ditched it.
Yeah.
And so now we're like one guy in a costume, one guy in and it's hilarious. It's just kind of like that's our band.
It's the evolution.
Like two different people playing together. And again, they talk about it with kids. There's like, you know, there's kids that play together and then kids that play side by side. We're kind of more parallel play. Yeah, we're kind of more like parallel play, like just two weirdos in a room doing their own thing, but listening.
Sure.
But yeah, everything I think, I haven't thought about it that much, but like coming to it, I thought about it with my visual art. Everything is really informed by process. Like I really like printmaking because like you filter the drawings through this whole system of like, I'm going to like make a drawing. I'm going to put it onto a screen. I'm going to squish ink through a screen onto a piece of paper. And then like, maybe I'll cut that paper up and I'll glue it to a wall. Like to make this thing, I'm going to have to jump through this many hoops to get there. And so when I get to this thing that I've made, there's almost like unrecognizable quality to it. Like I made this, but like so many other things participated in the making of this. And I do think the music kind of went through similar filters, just being like, all right, we're going to limit it to 2 and we're going to play on the floor and we're going to like be super fucking loud and we're going to like play through this and like, we're never going to buy new equipment or just like, I don't, you know, everything is through these filters and we're going to have people like falling on us and like, and that those filters help form this end product that kind of has its own weird thing that, that it arrived at through this kind of crazy filtration process.
Yeah. There's the intention of what starts and then setting up the parameters of what will eventually be the end result.
Yeah.
It has little to do with you other than you started, you push the marble down the run and then, you know, there's enough things that are going to destroy it by the time it gets to the end. Whatever that
Pretty
marble
much.
was like, or whatever happened on the journey of that marble was other than you kicking it off. It's those, yeah. So
Yeah, totally. It's all through these systems.
Yeah.
It kind of like help create things and also put all these limitations on it. And then it's just like filtering it through funnels to like make that signal really strong, like when it comes out the other end. Maybe not hyper dynamic, but really strong.
Strong. That's incredible. Wow. Well, yeah, the time's running short here, but I just wanted, I mean, for years, Dean and I had a band, Wives. It was a 3-piece.
I remember Wives. Yeah.
As that ended, then Dean and I just went to drums. Dean wanted to play drums. He hadn't played drums in that band, but he was learning, and so he was just kind of starting. And I was playing guitar, and so we were like, we could do a 2-piece. Like, look at Brian and Brian. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we looked at you guys. Like, if these guys could, I mean, obviously, very high bar was set, and not that we wanted to sound exactly like Lightning Bolt, but we knew it was very possible. A 2-person band, it's very possible. And then as years would go on, we would be asked about the White Stripes or the Black Keys. Like, oh, well, obviously, you're a 2-piece in the tradition of these, these white blues, being like, no, that's not what we're thinking.
Yeah. No,
that's so little to do with. If anything, that's like the worst idea we could.
I know it's rough getting like talking. People are like, oh, you're influenced by this, and this, and like bands that came later, and you're like, no. Because what made it possible for us is like I saw Ruins, which was a Japanese duo, and like Godhead Silo played in our house, which was a duo in the States.
Yes, yeah.
And both like incredible fucking bands. And and in a way, it's like we took what they did, we took what Flake Camp did, like we took it and like made it sort of bigger. I mean, those bands were big to some extent too. Like Ruins is super well known, and Godhead Silo is like known in a world.
Yeah,
but we didn't invent all this from outer space. Like we were definitely building on. Kind of weird tradition.
But again, putting it through a filter, putting it through a process to make it yours. I think that's what I've always.
We ran with it for sure.
Yeah, I always felt good about, even if we were going to play a cover or do something different. I was like, I'm just trying to rip off a song. It's like it's not going to come out the way it sounded. Just because whether
there's no way,
lack of talent or hyper creativity or just something, I'm not a good mimic like that. So I felt very comfortable. Like, oh yeah, I can play something in the style of that, and it's going to come out completely like sounding like me at the end, for better or worse.
I mean, half the time when I'm playing, I'm singing like Madonna, or not even Madonna anymore. It's like it used to be Madonna, now it's like Rihanna. I'll just like I'm like, we're making pop music, but I'm like not in there. But in my mind.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm channeling that sort of energy that I'm into that pop, but yeah, I'm into, again, it's sort of filtering influences, but then like through your own really screwy filter.
It's amazing. And then why stay in Providence when everybody else was kind of leaving, or when you got to this kind of place, Fort Thunder and onwards? What was it? Was there something about the city, or did you find something?
I'm terrified. The rest of the
You've seen the rest of the world. You've traveled everywhere. You've been to
I know
on Earth,
but you've been everywhere.
You remain in Providence, I guess, to kind of, maybe this will be the closeout of our Providence month. The man
who remains.
Yeah. He who remains.
Oh my God, my partner would move to LA in a second if we could have. Honestly, we can't afford to go anywhere else. It's sort of, I mean, it's awesome, and I've always managed to have tremendous spaces. Like I have a great space again. Brian Gibson's still here, so it's like we get to play still. We play a little like since having a kid, it's been harder. We still play some. We'll be playing a lot this year, but like we're here, and it's just there's so many roots here. There's like so many systems. Even just getting this space was because I knew somebody that knew somebody, and I got this awesome space. And it's like amazing, like the beaches over here. It's like there's all this stuff I never even knew about. Like I was basically like I had my head in a mill, or I was like in a grungy mill for the first 20 years that I was in this town, and I'd never even like been to the beach, or gone to a restaurant or something. Yeah. And so now it's just like, oh, there's like this other culture here, and there's like amazing water stuff here, and now with a kid, it's like, we have a lot of friends that have kids. I'm kind of in this other, that other dimension that, whereas like certain things, the DIY scene in Providence has slowed down a lot. Although there's still amazing shit, and there's like some people working hard to make stuff. but it's interesting. It's still a fruitful place. It's a great place to like launch from to go to other lands. East Coast is amazing for playing shows. It's just like there's places to play for like within short drives,
Yeah.
which is awesome. A little different than like at least northern West Coast, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, we got to drive 5 hours, to get to San Francisco, and it's like,
but so we're still here. But man, I would, if I can somehow like have like a house in LA and a house in Providence, I would do it in a second. But that's not quite in the cards.
Yeah. Well, yeah, LA's its own kind of mess, which, again, I think, all the things you say about why you stay in Providence is sort of the stuff I say about LA. It's like, I would go, well, that's just, I grew up here. So I know a lot about it. And, again, culture, and community, and sort of what you're sort of comfortable with. It's
and just not having to fucking, I don't want to, like, I'm always hustling and it's still a struggle to get it all to work.
Oh yeah.
And like, I'm just like, fucking start from scratch in like a new town would be a bitch and a half. But I don't know. Our options are open though. Like the time may come still.
It's fun. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you up in Providence sometime sooner than later. And, or I'll see you here in LA next time you guys, it sounds like you might be on the road before we are.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Maybe we'll meet in the middle somewhere.
That'd be amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. This is fast. And
thanks for having me.
Yes, there he is, Mr. Brian Chipendale, incredible drummer, artist, all-around creative person. I had a great time talking to him. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. I'll be back next Monday with Aaron Farley to discuss this interview. And then, we got 2 more weeks of Providence talk, RISD talk. And I will be in New Zealand performing, doing funny stuff. But I should have all of the stuff in the can to come out ahead of time. So we will see. We'll see what I get up to. We'll see what happens next. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Talk to you soon. Bye.